Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We are back with another episode of Daily Palantir. And on today's show, we're going to be discussing a couple things. Number one, insider sales. We got to talk about it. Going to give my thoughts on why insiders are selling, what implications that has on the stock price, and ultimately kind of how I'm thinking of the certain insiders that are selling and the prices that they're selling them at, because they're getting them close to that $19 to $21 range. So we're going to talk about that. Number two, we're going to talk about Karp getting an award. We talked about this about 2 weeks ago, but now we finally give a video of him actually accepting the award itself. It's about a minute video. I just want to watch the video and why he accepted that award, why that award matters. And then finally, Everest Group, a management consulting firm, has listed the top 50 artificial intelligence companies, and Palantir ranked pretty high, like very high on that list. So we got a lot to talk about. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's start off with insider selling, because that is the big topic of today. Just want to go through a bunch of these forms that came out within the past couple of days. We had David Glazer sell 225,000 shares, made $4.8 million off that. We had Stephen Cohen sell 405,000 shares, made $8.7 million on that. We had Karp sell 585,000 shares, make $12.57 million on that. Shyam Sankar sold 351,000 shares, made $7.5 million on that. Then you had Ryan Taylor sell 147,000 shares, make $3.178 million on that. You then had another Karp sale by 325,000 shares, making $6.6 million on that. You then had 205,000 shares by David Glazer, CFO of Palantir, making $4 million off that. And you had another 321,000 shares sold by Shyam Sankar, making $6.5 million off of that. When you do all the calculations, the average stock price that they sold them at was $21.5 for the ones that were sold 2 days ago. So that was Karp, Shyam, Glazer, and Ryan Taylor, and Stephen Cohen. And then today, Shyam Sankar and Glazer sold some shares again, and that price was around $19.8 for Glazer and about $20.25 for Shyam Sankar. So a bunch of insiders sold shares, not to mention Peter Thiel sold about 2.4 million shares from Thrill Capital, which is one of his VC funds that bought Palantir shares in 2012, 2013. So they've been holding on those shares for a decade. They sold them at $19.94. 2.4 million shares. They hold about 17.5 million shares. Now they hold about 15.4 million shares of Palantir. What do you make of all this that's going on? First off, a couple things. Number one, a lot of these shares are likely being sold for taxes and for restricted stock units, right? So say options that are being exercised, which essentially means you have to sell a certain amount of shares to cover the taxes and to cover the other expenses in terms of that are required for vesting all that stock, because that's how restricted stock options work. Now, granted, there are definitely shares that have been sold just flat out on the market because a lot of them didn't need to vest, right? Didn't need, they send it like Peter Thiel, right? Those 2.4 million shares, he decided to sell them. He didn't have vesting or anything like that. Stephen Cohen selling those 405,000 shares, that was just selling common stock on the market. So regardless of all the reasons that were involved in terms of insiders selling those shares, which could have been taxes, could have been this, could have been that, whatever. At the end of the day, I care about the market perception. And if we look at Palantir's stock price today, we're at $19.55 after hours. This is from a high of $21.85, 52-week high that we hit this week. Remember, $21.85 is higher than the $20.23 high we hit in August when we were kind of getting that bull run, and then we came all the way back down to $13.96. Now we're at $19.55. Obviously, the stock's done very well this year regardless, but insider selling does create the perception that maybe if the insiders feel, and even though they're selling for whatever reasons they're selling, they're definitely making some profit off these shares they're selling, right? Because if you just need to sell the exact amount you needed to cover taxes, you wouldn't sell 585,000 shares, right? Like that's a lot of shares. Shyam in the past couple of days, 700,000 shares. You don't sell that many just to cover your taxes. So there are some profits being taken. And my take on this is that that's not that big of a deal. I mean, at the end of the day, stock's up 220% year to date. It's up 50, 60% in the past 6 months. When a stock runs that high and you're an insider in a company that has your shares at like 5 cents, 80 cents, right? And you're getting a massive return because you've been there for 20 years and you're the reason the company exists. You're the reason the company's executed, right? You deserve to get those shares. You deserve to take some profits as well. I have zero problem with Peter Thiel cashing out. I mean, held the shares for a decade, right? He buying those shares were a reason why Palantir was able to get started. I have no problem with Karp, Shyam Sankar, selling out and getting some profits, especially because it's such a small stake in the grand scheme of how many shares they have. And, if they're selling 30, 40, 50% of the position, that's a different question. They're not doing that. So it's not really that big of a concern to me. What the larger concern is, I think, to the market is that, look, given the stocks run up so dramatically, if insiders are deciding to sell right now, maybe we should think a little bit before we buy their shares. Because essentially, if you were buying at $21.50 21.30, $20.80 over the past couple of days, you were buying some of the insiders' shares, right? They were dumping those shares onto you and you were buying them. And so the argument here, I just want to, think about this logically. If an insider is saying, all right, at 21.50, I want to take some profit off the table, I'm going to sell these shares. You as a retail investor are saying, okay, so what? That's like a $45 billion market cap for Palantir. I believe at a $45 billion market cap, which this valuation market cap thing matters because in order to get a return on those shares, which is the whole point of buying stocks in the first place, right? You sell it for higher than what you get it at. You believe Palantir can be worth more than $45 billion. So the insider is saying at $45 billion, I like this valuation. I like the fact that someone's willing to take these shares from me. I'm going to sell. Why are they thinking that? I think is a real question to ask before you buy, because when you're buying, you're saying, well, I think it can be more than $45 billion. And there can be a variety of reasons for why you think it can be more than $45 billion. There's a deep rabbit hole we can go into due diligence and all the stuff. You may personally feel that, but you've got to think in a particular relationship that you're having with an insider selling, why they're dumping it onto you and why you're taking those shares. And you're saying, you know what, you don't think it's worth more than this right now, which is why you're offloading shares. I'm going to take those shares and I think it'll be worth more. The problem here is that a lot of these insiders have financial advisors that know the company, quite frankly, better than a lot of retail investors and institutional investors. And they know that there are certain moments where it's time to take some chips off the table. That's not a bad thing, right? And I really don't want anyone to think that I'm saying that's a bad thing. You've got to sell at the end of the day. You've got to take profits, right? If you're an insider, like you've been in the company for a long time. If I ever run a public company, I'm going to take some profits as well, right? Like it's just something you have to do if I'm the reason the company exists in the first place. But it's important to realize, they weren't taking these profits at $7, $8. I know there was some insider selling back then, but Peter Thiel does not sell 2.4 million shares at $7, which the stock was at $7 from January to May of 2023. And by the way, you have to sell every decade when you're running a VC fund. 2023 was that decade mark, so he absolutely could have sold, right? Or all of 2023. He sells at the end of 2023 when the stock's up 200% year to date, because obviously, it's a good price to sell at because the stock's up so much. Like, it's not that complicated to me. People say insiders sell for all these reasons. I'm like, look, even if that's true, at the end of the day, they don't sell when the stock's at lows. I mean, I'm sure that's happened, but usually when a stock runs up, you're going to see some people take some chips off the table because that's just the nature of what it means to be an insider in a public company. So to me, as an investor, I don't really care too much about it. It's not that many shares that they're selling that gets me super concerned. What does signal to me, which is I've been very clear about on the show for a while, is that buying at these elevated prices, you have to really factor in how much the stock has run up and then ask yourself, do you think it has more momentum to run up more? Who's going to be buying all these shares if you think, Palantir is going from 19 to 27 in the next couple months? Could it go? Yes, absolutely. We saw the stock run up dramatically this year. Could it also go back to 15? Absolutely. And so the question becomes, who do you think is buying? Is there enough buying momentum and pressure to be able to justify if the insiders are selling at this price that you as a retail investor are going to be buying at this price? And I think that's all there is to say about it. It's nothing bad about the company, nothing bad about the trajectory, nothing bad about the thesis, nothing like that. It's just insiders realizing, look, it's run up a lot. I'm going to take some profits and I'm going to go buy some shit because at the end of the day, I need to spend this money. It just can't be stuck here forever. And as a retail investor, I think it's important to just think, well, if they're selling right now, do I really want to be buying right now? At the end of the day, if you're in this for the long term, this conversation doesn't really matter. If you're in this to 2030, buying it at $20, $15, $25 probably is irrelevant given where the company's going to go if you believe in the bull case for the company. But it is something to think about if you're trying to get a good entry price or just even try to think, is it logical or rational right now to be buying when insiders may be selling? Okay, next up, Karp got an award. This is an award for companies that have continued to create freedom through technology. So it's about a minute. Let's hear him talk about this at the Tech Freedom Summit. He got this award about a week ago. And this is Karp speaking on defending freedom through technology and getting this award from the Crack Institute of Tech Diplomacy at Purdue. It's probably not said as crack, but I said it as crack. Okay, let's listen to Karp.
Thank you for honoring me with this award. I want to thank the Kroc Institute and Keith and Michelle.
Oh, Kroc, that's what it is. Okay, my bad.
Especially. I feel very, very honored. In today's world, there are very, very few people who show courage, and giving awards to people like me and to Palantir by logical extension for doing what in my view is the obvious. What is the obvious? Supporting Ukraine in its pursuit of territorial sovereignty, helping Israel both in public and in private, standing up against people who pretend to not understand the difference between terrorism and battles, speaking publicly and clearly about the need to use technology, the world's best technology, in the service of the West and democracies, fighting to make sure our institutions are equipped with the best of the best in every area, but especially in technology, which is our superiority vis-a-vis our adversaries. So I want to thank you for giving me this award. It means a lot to me, and it means a lot that you're standing up and sticking up for the values of the West, which on occasion have to be fought for with force, and particularly with technology.
Okay, not bad. So the reason I thought that was really interesting is just because we haven't heard Karp talk in a while, so it was nice to kind of see him talk about getting that award. One of, basic point of analysis here that I just want to make is that he is getting recognition from the broader ecosystem of defense technology, which is having its moment in the sun, given everything that's happened geopolitically, about being one of those CEOs that really does embrace solving these problems and defending these values that we think are so special, Western values, through technology. So Karp got an award, made sense he got an award, and I hope he gets a lot more awards because what he's doing with Palantir is obviously one of the most important things, I believe, for democracy at the end of the day. All right, last thing we have to discuss today is this pretty cool thing that came out from the Everest Group, which is a consulting firm. Shout out to CodeStrap. He tweeted this, and that's why I got to learn about it. Everest Group unveils inaugural artificial intelligence top 50 recognizing global market-leading AI-first technology providers. So a little bit from the press release, and then we'll talk about Palantir's role here. Collectively, these AI technology providers have raised over $50 billion in total lifetime private funding, showcasing huge investor interest and growing importance of the technology. Palantir was number 2. So OpenAI is number 1, which is not too bad. Quote from the press release: as AI technology rapidly advances, it is redefining human-machine interactions and reshaping industries. It is, if not our way of life. The vice president of Everest Group said, the remarkable growth in AI innovation has given rise to more than 5,000 AI technology providers in the past decade alone by our estimates. The Everest Group AI Top 50 will help enterprises identify the 50 largest, most well-funded, and relatively scaled-up AI-first companies among the sea of AI technology providers. So again, this consulting firm's job is to consult with clients to help them use AI to be able to operationalize their businesses, and that's why they released this list in the first place. This list also helps AI technology providers to compare themselves against others in the industry. So the top 10. OpenAI is number 1, which makes sense. They kind of started this whole ChatGPT revolution, even though they've been having a lot of issues with Sam Altman, who's now, again, the CEO of OpenAI. A lot of fun stuff that happened over the past week, but OpenAI is number 1. Palantir is number 2. Anthropic, which created a chatbot called Claude. That is the competitor to ChatGPT. You got Databricks there, Dataku, haven't heard of this one, SenseTime, 4Paradigm, Data Robot, Gong, and C3 AI somehow made the top 10. That one's very interesting. But Palantir being number 2, I think, does speak volumes to the fact that it is starting to become recognized more and more by these different consulting firms and industries that they've got pure play AI baked into the fabric of their products, and that's why they've been able to, generate. They're going to be generating $2.2 billion this year. Fun thing about OpenAI, they're doing about $1 billion in TTM revenue run rate. The company's valuation is at $86 billion. Obviously, investors are expecting that $1 billion is going to grow more dramatically. But the cost of compute to be able to get to that $1 billion likely is far exceeding their actual profits, right? There is a lot of cost and infrastructure involved to be able to generate that much revenue. So OpenAI, obviously a very important company. Sam Altman leading it is probably going to take them to even new heights. But Palantir being number 2 on the list is not bad for an enterprise software company that's not attacking the consumer, because again, the massive TAM for AI is the consumer, right? 100 million people every week use ChatGPT, but the enterprise is where you're going to be attacking a different type of quote-unquote consumer, someone who's working in marketing or sales or finance or accounting or engineer inside of the enterprise, someone who's not a subject matter expert, right? Someone who's not a technical coder, someone who just needs to be able to use this technology to make their life easier, better, more productive, which is going to increase the revenue of the company, decrease the cost, increase the operating margins and efficiencies. That's AI in the enterprise. And what we heard from Dan Ives last week is that from the conversations he's having, enterprises are ready to spend 8 to 10% of their yearly budget, not marketing budget, but yearly budget on AI technologies. A lot of money is going to be going into that ecosystem, and I think Palantir is going to be able to hopefully get a lot of that money as well. All right, that's it for me. Thank you guys for listening and watching. Let me know your thoughts and your comments on insider selling, since that was the main topic of today. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone in the States celebrating Thanksgiving. I am incredibly, incredibly thankful for all of you that come and watch these videos every day, and thankful for the people that join the Morning Open. That's been a very fun show over the past almost 50 episodes now that we've been doing it, starting from 8:45 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern. So thankful to this community. Thankful for you all being here. You've changed my life. You've made this a really fun thing to do every single day. And let me know what you're thankful for in the description or in the comments below. Not the description. I've been doing this for 2 years and I can't do it right. Thank you guys for listening and watching. I'll see you in the next one.